To my loyal subscribers, let me say good morning to you. To anyone new, a special welcome. Here at Bed Crime Stories, we do all things true crime. If you want fact-based, drama-free, no fluff, true crime, you've come to the right place. Do me a favor, hit the like button. It's a free way you can help your host. That would be me, T. Now let's get started. On Sunday, September 11th, 2022, 59-year-old Debbie Collier was found deceased under very strange circumstances in a wooded area many miles from her home in Athens, Georgia. After Debbie Collier left the Family Dollar store and got into her car at exactly 3:17 p.m., her phone sent a Venmo for nearly $2,400 to her daughter, 36-year-old Amanda Bearden, along with the cryptic message, "They are not going to let me go. Love you. There's a key to the house under the blue flower pot." Debbie also sent her son, Jeffrey, a brief message of, "I love you." The son, however, did not receive any monies, and the message did not go through to him. Amanda's boyfriend, Andrew Geigerich, claims that Jeffrey had his mother blocked from contacting him. But Jeffrey seems to be a very loving son. Without Jeffrey telling us whether or not he had his mom blocked, we can't know if Andrew is telling the truth. But if Jeffrey had his mother blocked, I'd love to know why. Was he perhaps angry with Debbie for welcoming his, at times, troubled older sister, Amanda, back into the fold in Athens? Amanda had just moved from Baltimore, Maryland, where she lived in an apartment complex near that of her brother and his wife, back home to Athens, Georgia, just 2 days before her mother went missing. Three things are painfully clear at this point. Siblings Amanda and Jeffrey Bearden are not on good terms with each other. Jeffrey has said he doesn't trust some of the people Amanda hangs out with. And Amanda has now fired back that she's been accused of being the perpetrator of her mother's death. Amanda intimated that it was her brother Jeffrey, along with some other relatives, who accused her of that. The second thing that is painfully clear is that Amanda and Jeffrey are at opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to the manner of their mother, Debbie Collier's, death. Jeffrey has stated he believes it's down to foul play. Amanda, on the other hand, is set on an unaliving situation. Sadly, the siblings are at war and are not therefore able to offer each other support as they navigate this shared tragedy. The third thing that the siblings disagree about is whether or not the woman we see in the Family Dollar store is their mother. Jeffrey says he's not convinced. Amanda says 100% that's her mother. Jeffrey has nothing to lose by saying he isn't convinced that that's his mom. He was in Maryland when the crime occurred. Amanda, on the other hand, has everything to lose. She was in Georgia when the crime occurred, and her behavior prior to the crime, namely the alleged fight at the Collier home, is highly suspicious. Also, just moving back to Georgia 2 days before her mom went missing is highly suspicious as well. Those are the three things that are creating a major divide between Amanda and Jeffrey. Now, when it comes to what we know about Debbie Collier, up until this week, the only people who have spoken out about that are Debbie's husband, Steve Collier, who said only a few sentences about Debbie and his love for her, and her son, Jeffrey. Jeffrey has been the most vocal about his mother, who he described as his greatest and longest cheerleader and source of support. Well, now we've heard for the first time from Debbie's daughter, Amanda Bearden, who appeared on the COTR podcast on Wednesday, November 9th, 2022. COTR is short for Crime on the Record. Now, the female host of this channel is Amanda Bearden's paternal first cousin, Candace Bearden. So you have to tuck that into the back of your mind when thinking about this interview. There's obviously a little bias just because they're family. However, the hosts did ask some of the hard questions, so they didn't just allow Amanda to skate by. But as I type that and I say that, I'm reminded that the host did not ask Amanda about one very critical happening, and that is the alleged fight that neighbors heard at Debbie and Steve Collier's home in Athens, Georgia, the night before Debbie Collier went missing. Neighbors said they heard the voice of a young woman shouting, and they also claimed that when this young woman would visit on weekends in the past, there tended to be more shouting. That to me is a critical question to ask if you are lucky enough to have Amanda Bearden on your show. Now, a lot of people are saying that they now flat out believe Amanda's version of events, the one where she has nothing to do with her mom's demise and where Debbie's untimely death is down to an unaliving situation. While I found Amanda Bearden charming and seemingly open for most of the interview, there were some important things that for me are still raising red flags. Here are the things that concern me. In the interview, Amanda changed the narrative about when she first noticed the large Venmo transaction from her mom on Saturday, September 10, 2022, along with the cryptic note. Amanda told the host that she didn't notice her mom's large transfer of money with the scary note until 5 p.m. Previously, we'd heard from both Amanda's boyfriend, Andrew Geigerich, and Debbie Collier's husband, Steve Collier, that Amanda noticed the Venmo with the scary note earlier in the day. During his 911 call at 6 p.m. on Saturday, Steve Collier told the operator that Amanda received her mother's cryptic message 2 hours earlier. Note that Amanda was with Steve at the Collier home when he dialed 911 at 6 p.m., and he often seemed to check with her as to what answer he was giving the operator. Amanda indicated to Steve that she saw the message 2 hours earlier. So 2 hours earlier than 6 p.m. would be 4 p.m. And remember, Amanda clearly didn't tell Steve about the $2,400 money transfer that came with the note. The hosts of this podcast also failed to ask Amanda why she didn't tell Steve or the 911 operator about the large payment. That's still a red flag for me. But back to the time. Amanda's boyfriend, Andrew Geigerich, has also written in my comments section that Amanda noticed the Venmo and the cryptic message about an hour after they were sent. We know that the Venmo and note were sent at 3:17 p.m. If we are to believe Andrew, that means Amanda noticed the scary message at around 4 p.m. This is a critical detail. The big question we YouTube sleuths have been asking for the past few weeks is why did Amanda Bearden wait 2 hours and 43 minutes after receiving the Venmo and scary note before telling Steve Collier or the police, better still, about it? Remember, the scary message implied that her mom was being held by someone who was not going to let her go, meaning these people were going to do her mom in. So could Amanda now be saying that she didn't notice this scary message until 5 p.m. to make her 6 p.m. time of telling Steve and the police about her mom's scary situation more acceptable and less remiss? Is she deliberately trying to minimize the 2 hours and 43 minutes that passed before she told Steve or the police about this potentially life-threatening situation? And could Amanda be changing the details of the story based on criticism she's heard about herself on YouTube? I think so. We saw Don Wells and Candace Bly do this during the months after 5-year-old Summer Wells went missing, and seasoned detectives dealing in crimes of this ilk would call this an inconsistency in Amanda's story. We also know that when someone tells the truth, the story doesn't change. And in true crime cases, an hour or 2 hours and 43 minutes make a big difference. Now, while I found Amanda warm, funny, and seemingly open during much of the discussion, her constant fidgeting with her hair and makeup was both distracting and disturbing. She pretty much fiddled with her hair throughout the entire interview and seemed to be staring at herself the entire time in the camera. At times, her face was all wrinkled up in supposed sobs. At other times, the salty droplets really did flow. So I do think she was sincere at times. But there were other times when she would suddenly break out into laughter as well, which I personally found odd. I mean, she's talking about her mother's death, right? And her mom's death was not a pretty one. Who laughs like that just a few months after such a horrible tragedy? I find that disturbing. Was that hair fiddling down to nerves and anxiety? Possibly. Could it also indicate deception? Here's what clinical psychologists Matthew Childs and Rachel Ween said about constantly playing with your hair, and I quote, "The short answer is that playing with your hair can mean a number of different things. Overall, Ween described the act as a typical nervous tic or sign of anxiety. Childs echoes that sentiment. Playing with your hair could speak toward anxiety about appearance or about the way you feel within that situation." End quote. So per these psychologists, twirling your hair could be your body's subconscious response to whatever emotions might be brewing beneath the surface. On the HuffPost.com website, body language expert Vanessa Van Edwards said this: "Every time you touch your hair, you distract the person you're speaking to. Worse still, that teasing, twirling, and flipping might come off as anxious behavior. Hair touches, even if you aren't actually nervous, look like pacification gestures." End quote. Well, Amanda Bearden had plenty of reasons to feel nervous and to want to pacify herself, right? She's been on the hot seat on the YouTube streets because of her behavior and her past criminal history. So that hair fiddling is most likely down to nerves. But then I checked out what another doctor, Dr. Lillian Glass, a behavioral analyst and body language expert who has worked with the FBI on unmasking signals of deception, had to say. Dr. Glass shared 13 signs that indicate someone is lying to you in an article she was quoted in on the Economic Times website. Some of the 13 signs that I observed in Amanda Bearden's composure were: 1. The person changes their head position quickly, so they demonstrate a sudden head movement when you ask them a direct question. If you watch the interview again, you'll notice that Amanda jerks her head around quite a bit. Another of the 13 signs is that the person will buy time before answering, as in pausing and needing to think before replying. I did see some of that. Not a lot, but some of it. Now, even if you don't buy into those two signs of deception being demonstrated by Amanda Bearden in this interview, you may agree with this observation. Amanda Bearden stated that the police are now talking to her because she has respect for law enforcement, and the other person, presumably her brother Jeffrey, doesn't. Note that Jeffrey has never been arrested. That to me spells that he has respect for the law. Amanda, on the other hand, has been arrested quite a few times, which demonstrates a lack of respect for the law. Also, last year in 2021, when Amanda was arrested for lying to the police and filing a false report accusing her live-in boyfriend of breaking into her home, when she got into the squad car, she harangued the female officer who had the misfortune of driving her to the local jail all the way there. According to the officer's notes, Amanda called her an effing cop all the way to the station. So that was just last year. Last year, Amanda did not have enough respect for law enforcement to follow the law or to treat that officer taking her to jail in a respectful manner. Now, Amanda suddenly has all this respect. I know that Amanda says she suffers from addiction issues and is bipolar. These things could definitely explain her behavior last year. But to seriously say that her brother, who has no criminal history, doesn't respect the law and she does, is flat out ludicrous. Amanda also said that she drove to Rabun in a record time on Sunday when her mother's rental van was said to be up there somewhere. I still want to know how Amanda could have missed spotting that rental van pulled over to the side of the highway into Lula Falls. She was driving up that way to look for her mom. How the heck did she miss seeing her mother's van? That is yet another question the hosts of the podcast did not ask Amanda. They only asked her how it was she was able to get to the crime scene so fast on Sunday. They did not ask her, can you explain how you missed seeing your mom's van when you drove up to Rabun using the one and only route up there? Amanda also declared when talking about Jeffrey wanting information from the police that she was taught that nobody owes you anything. Well, I want to know then why she felt she was owed money by her mother. We saw all the Venmo transactions. They were all to Amanda, not Jeffrey. Amanda also said that she offered to pay for things for her mom's memorial. Why, if she needed her mother to buy her cleaning supplies on the weekend her mom went missing, was she suddenly able to offer to pay for things for the memorial? Was she planning to use some of the $2,400 her mom sent her? She said she didn't take her money. They being, I guess, her brother and maybe Steve. Is it because they didn't want any of that $2,400 tainting the memorial? Those monies are, after all, linked to the Debbie Collier case. I'm also confused by Amanda saying that her boyfriend, Andrew, wasn't sent to rehab. He wrote in my comments that he was attending rehab sessions in Athens, Georgia. Why is he going to those sessions? What are those about? I don't feel like Amanda was being entirely clear if what Andrew said is true in the interview. It remains to be seen what really led to Debbie Collier's death. I feel that if she wanted to unalive herself, there were much less painful ways to do it, and those could have been done closer to home. Yes, doing it closer to home might taint an area or a situation forever, but also sending your daughter a scary message and frightening her in this manner and then doing the unaliving thing seems pretty mean to do to a daughter that Debbie clearly loved, right? Why would she send her family on a wild goose chase up to Clayton, Georgia? So while Amanda can be charming and does seem genuinely upset at times over her mother's death, I still have questions. Sorry, I do. Until the next time on Bed Crime Stories. Do me a favor, hit that like button,